Heyo, Omni Dogs and Omni Kittens. It's Omni Dog here with another Batterdays in the Batcave, along with my co-host Taylor Brown. Taylor, how's it going?
I'm doing great, and I'm excited for our final Batter Days of 2019.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think of it that way.
Yes, this is our final episode, so there's a lot of pressure for us to do well, I guess. Maybe not.
Oh, well, don't feel that pressure. Nobody, that's okay.
And we're going to be talking about Detective Comics 1000 and Detective Comics Arkham Knight by Peter J. Tomasi.
Right.
So before we move into our reviews, I just want to start off with a couple words of gratitude for you and our viewers. We've been doing this show for 6 months now. I've had an absolute blast, and I just really want to thank the viewers for watching every single week and encouraging us and always leaving your comments, interacting in the chat. That means a lot to Jess and I. And one of the greatest joys of 2019 for me has been seeing you guys really get even more into Batman, because we've seen some people say, I wasn't really a big fan of Batman until I started watching this show. And that's the biggest compliment for me. Because I love Batman, and it's great that our shows are helping other people to love him even more. So I'm really excited for another year of videos in 2020. We have a lot of ideas and a lot of books to review.
Yeah, well, I would like to echo your sentiments and say it's also been great getting to know you. You're a good guy, and I look forward to when you come visit for Awesome Con in May, and I have had a blast getting to know you better. This has been great.
Yeah, that was a unexpected side surprise to doing the show, becoming friends. So that's been really cool.
Yeah, it has.
It'll be fun to do a live show in your basement as I come in with a protective bubble to make sure I'm not hurting anything.
Nobody could be as bad as Omar.
I aim to be a better house guest than Omar. I guess that wouldn't be that hard of a goal to reach.
No, you just have to show up and be normal.
That's true. Like you said last week, it's a low bar. Just walk over it.
Yeah, just walk right over that bar, and you're already doing well.
All right, you want to start with Detective Comics 1000? Get right into it.
Now I have the floppy version, and you have the hardcover.
Yes, I have the nice hardcover.
Which much nicer than my floppy, which I didn't even know existed. How did I miss that?
I don't know. I mean, it wasn't the most popular book. I mean, I don't think it was, but I mean, it came out, I think, in June or something like that, June or May.
And how many extra stories do you think are in there?
All right, so there are 11 stories in Detective Comics 1000. It's a 96-page issue, and my hardcover also has 2 additional, like 10 to 15-page stories at the end.
Oh,
there's one story.
You know?
Yeah, the first story is called Table for Two, and it's by Robert Venditti.
Okay.
I haven't really read a lot by him. I think he does the Hal Jordan of the Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, and he does Hawkman.
And then the second story is by Alan Grant, who's a famous Batman writer from the 80s, and Scott McDaniel, who also did Batman with Ed Brubaker back in the early 2000s.
Okay.
So those stories weren't, they were okay. They weren't, I don't think they're worth you getting this hardcover unless you really want it. Because it's a nice deluxe size too. Which is, because a lot of times DC will cheap out and do the standard size. Do you have Action Comics 1000 hardcover or just the issue?
You know, I don't think wait a minute.
Because that might influence your decision to get this in hardcover.
All I have is, you know, I thought I had Action Comics. Sorry to leave the screen. I thought I had Action and Detective Comics in hardcover, but I don't. I think I only have Action in trade paperback.
I know you're trying to be even more careful about upgrading in 2020, so I'm not going to make you buy this. But if you ever do want to buy it, it's only $20 cover, so it'd be cheap to buy it on ISP.
Oh yeah, okay.
If you really want it, not that you need it.
Yeah. For some reason, I got those 80 years collections, and I have a feeling those are probably going to be, well, it's just going to be greatest hits, and which is fine with me.
Yeah, I feel like they look really good on the outside, but how much are you really going to read it?
Well, I haven't read them yet at all. There's your answer.
So maybe never.
Yeah, maybe never. They're low on my list. I don't know why I got them.
So as I said earlier, Detective Comics 1000, the single issue came out earlier this year, and there's 11 stories, and they're celebrating Batman's 80-year history. It's Batman's 80th birthday this year, and there were only 2 stories that I didn't like. So 9 out of 11 is pretty good for me. Did you like all of them?
Did I what?
Did you like all the stories?
I enjoyed all the stories. I will say, oh yeah, that's the last story. That was cool. I enjoyed all the stories to a certain extent, except for um, except for the art in one kind of took me out of the story.
Yeah, we'll be getting into more specifics later on. We're going to talk about our favorite stories from this issue and our least favorites, because we can't go through all 11 stories. That would take way too long. So we're just going to talk about our favorites and our least favorites. And I don't know about you, but there were some creators that I was surprised weren't in this book. Like, we didn't have Jeff Loeb or Tim Sale. There was no Ed Brubaker, no Greg Rucka, no Grant Morrison. That was the biggest oversight for me, was Grant Morrison. That was really surprising. No Frank Miller. I'm not going to cry about that, because maybe if it was back in the early 90s, I'd feel bad about that.
Now, yeah, the last story is by Tom King, right?
Right. Well, in my hardcover, the last one is the Detective Comics 1000 story of Peter J. Tomasi and Doug Mahnke, which is looking forward to Arkham Knight.
Oh, and okay, and the last one in mine is called Batman's Greatest Case. It's by Tom King with art by Tony S. Daniel and Joel Jones.
Did you have the story by Tomasi and Mahnke? Did you have that story?
Oh, what was it called?
It's called Medieval. It's also in the Arkham Knight hardcover.
Oh, yeah. It was in here.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure. I was pretty sure that it was in there. I couldn't remember, though.
Yeah, it's the lead in to, like, the Arkham Knight book.
And in my opinion, this 1000th issue is much better than Action Comics 1000.
I agree.
I thought was very underwhelming and lackluster. I didn't like it very much.
Me either.
Granted, I do like Superman, but he's not my favorite character. But I didn't think it was the best celebration of Superman.
It could have been a lot better.
Right. I think this was miles better, in my opinion.
Agree.
And I think if you're a serious Batman fan, you should have this hardcover or the single issue in your collection, because it's a very important milestone that contains a lot of great stories that show off why Batman is so great. But I will say, I know we have a lot of newer Batman readers to our channel. And if you're a newer Batman reader, I would hold off on reading this issue until you have more Batman books under your belt, because it means a lot more to you. You get a lot more mileage out of it if you've been reading Batman for years and years and years. It really helps if you're intimately familiar with his history. So I would say if you're a serious Batman fan like Jess and I are, definitely pick this book up if you haven't already. And if you're a newer Batman fan, I'm not going to discourage you to, I'm not going to say don't get it, but I would encourage you to wait until you have more Batman books under your belt.
Yeah,
a lot more
out of the book.
Right. And I think Jess and I are positive guys by nature, so we're going to start with our favorite books, our favorite stories, and then go to our least favorite stories.
The only story I didn't care for was because of the art, and so I liked. Do you want me to start with my? Well, I actually liked them all, but my favorite one was. Let's see. No. Oh yeah, this one. I thought this one went long, so it had the most. Kind of characterization, had the most fleshed out story. I think it was by Kevin Smith. Oh no, wait a minute, it wasn't. No, that was the story before that. Kevin Smith wrote a good story, though. I will say that Kevin Smith did write a good story. Let's see who.
You liked the one by Paul Dini, didn't you?
Paul Dini, yeah, he's the one that wrote The Legend of Newt Brody. And I thought this was a hoot. He's like the world's worst henchman, constantly screwing up the supervillain's crimes, and constantly getting in trouble, constantly getting caught, constantly mucking around. He keeps getting hired because he's cheap, but he's the epitome of the terrible henchman. And if you haven't read it yet, the payoff is really fun. Paul Dini, of course, writes a great story, and the art is by Dustin Nguyen, who's of course really good. And it includes a who's who of various Batman villains. And I love this story because it kind of fleshed out Newt Brody, and then the payoff was really good for me. So that was my favorite story.
Yes. And Dustin Nguyen and Paul Dini did a lot of Batman stories together back in the early 2000s, which we've talked about a lot. They did Heart of Hush. They did the
Right.
Private Case book. They're a great pair together. It was really cool to see them join forces again. And that was a really funny story. Paul Dini is really great at writing funny yet hard-hitting crime stories.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin the payoff of it, but it was a funny payoff.
It was. It was not. I'll tell you this. I didn't expect that payoff, so that's good.
Yeah.
I thought that was a funny payoff.
Do you have any other favorites from this issue?
I liked Warren Ellis's story. It was very short, but I thought it was good. I thought it
Art
was
by
good.
Becky Cloonan.
And then I liked Denny O'Neil and Steve Epting's story. Warren Ellis's story was the Batman's design. First of all, I just like it because Warren Ellis wrote it with Becky Cloonan, who is no slouch drawing it. She is quite good. So this showed Batman at the height of his persuasive powers.
Yes.
Doesn't have to use muscles, or doesn't have to use explosives, doesn't have to use anything. He just uses the persuasive force of the hard-bitten, age-old Caped Crusader to help save a situation. So I really like that. And then the only thing I was surprised at in Return to Crime Alley by Denny O'Neil and Steve Epting. First of all, Steve Epting's art is good.
Oh, yeah.
How old they made Leslie Tompkins.
Oh, yeah. She looked like Aunt May back in the 60s.
I know. I was like, wait, I thought Leslie Tompkins was a lot younger. I realized Batman, if you age him out, is, older, and she took him in when he was young, but I thought she was like 20 when she took him in when he was 10. So I felt like she was 10 years older, and she hasn't been portrayed that old. Aunt May is a very good description of her here.
That looks like Aunt
Lady,
May.
what are you doing outside?
Well, the thing was, Leslie Tompkins is a contemporary with Bruce's parents. So she's pretty much the same age as them. But remember, in the Mythology by Peter Tomasi first volume, she looks like she's in her late 40s.
Right. That's what I was kind of basing it on.
I think it's just, again, the comics continuity and how frustrating it can be. Like Aunt May's perpetually 85 years old.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of like about this anthology, is that it's a different take on the character by different writers, and it works, as opposed to the Action Comics one, where it was different takes and they were all sort of clunky.
Right.
But these are all. That's how Denny O'Neil sees her, and that's cool.
I didn't think that Denny O'Neil story was bad. I just didn't think it was that much to write home about.
There wasn't a lot to hang your hat on.
No. The art, again, by Steve Epting, look at his version of Batman. Steve Epting is just awesome. I love his work with Ed Brubaker on Velvet. His work on Captain America by Ed Brubaker is great. So, he's look at that image of Batman. That's so cool. Yeah. I thought that the story wasn't really much to go off of.
No, that's true.
But again, the longest story is probably 8 pages. There's not a lot they can do.
Yeah,
a couple pages.
And it's hard to get a whole story in 5 to 8 pages.
Yeah,
but that's what I liked about this, was I enjoyed a lot of them. I enjoyed a lot of them to the extent that even though they were short.
I didn't think the story was bad, but I was underwhelmed by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's story.
Oh, you didn't like that one?
I wouldn't say I didn't like it. I just wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. What, did you like it? It's the first story that kicks off the issue.
I kind of did. I kind of did like it, how they sent him all over the place to join their society. Sorry, I'm giving it away. I thought for the 4 pages or 5 pages that it ran, I thought it was cool. I actually enjoyed it.
Okay. I wouldn't say it's bad. I wouldn't say I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just middle of the road.
Yeah.
But my favorite, which you were kind of mentioned already, was Manufacture for Use by Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
So my favorite story was written by Jess's least favorite Batman writer.
Well,
or isn't he your least favorite Batman writer?
He wrote 2 of my least. Yeah. Okay, he is.
He's not your least favorite comic writer. He's your least favorite Batman writer.
Yeah, right. I liked his Green Arrow.
And this story, I think, was written after he had his heart attack. He has a new lease on life. So maybe that contributed to really taking this issue very seriously. But I really like this issue a lot because it's Batman going into what's called the Gotham City gift shop, where it's actually an underground black market where you can buy different weapons and memorabilia used by Batman's rogue gallery. And he goes undercover as Matches Malone, his favorite cover. He says, I'm looking for a famous gun used in a Gotham crime. And this guy says, oh, you're in luck. I have the gun that was used to kill the Waynes. And it turns out this is Bruce Wayne, obviously, undercover. He takes the gun, and he has a certain – I don't want to spoil it, but I almost kind of want to because it's such a powerful ending.
Well, go ahead. You already said it was the Wayne's gun.
All right, fine. And so he brings it back to the cave, and Alfred says, sir, why do you want to have the gun that murdered your parents on display? And he says, don't worry, Alfred, I have a plan for it. He melts it down, and he forms it and makes it into a protective plate that he hides behind his logo on his chest. And throughout the issue, you see it being shot, you see it being stabbed, you see it being burned. It's what protects him. So he turns an instrument of destruction into an instrument of protection. And I love that.
I liked it too.
And again, I'm one of those people that does not want Batman to kill. I think Jess actually changed his mind on that a couple months ago, if I remember correctly, that you don't want him to kill anymore.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who the writer was that made me feel.
Wasn't it Denny O'Neil?
Sorry?
Wasn't it Denny O'Neil?
It might have been Denny O'Neil in an older story where he captures Joker on a snow ski slope or something, or the Arctic or something, and he gives a great rationale about why he will never kill. And I was like, that is a really good point. That really captures exactly what it is. And I don't, people are always saying how many people have died because Batman didn't kill the criminal, but the Gotham City justice system is 100% more responsible for that than Batman is. Batman captures the crooks, gives them over to Gotham City. Gotham City can execute him. Gotham City can please finally find a place where he can lock these guys up and keep them. Like,
I think it's Arkham Asylum's fault, actually.
What's that?
I think it's Jeremiah Arkham's fault. He should be able to find a way to keep them in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah. Did you ever see the movie Face Off?
Yeah, with Nicolas Cage and
that's where they need to stick them, in some like place where they're magnetized boots. They can't move.
You mean the place where Nicolas Cage escaped?
Sorry?
Nicolas Cage still escaped, though.
Oh, yeah. Only one guy escaped. Not every crook escaped. I mean, every story you read about Batman, somebody's escaped from Arkham Asylum.
Pretty much every prison in every movie and TV show is not a very good prison.
No. And when you look at real life, prisons are actually pretty prison-y. Nobody escapes, really. And when they do, man, they get caught fairly quickly. So,
well, I think sometimes we forget that these stories aren't real and that they're supposed to be aspirational. That Batman not killing people is supposed to teach us a valuable lesson about the value of human life.
Right.
You know what I mean? And also, DC's chasing the almighty dollar. They can't kill the Joker long term because they need him to sell more books. And we all still want to read these stories, so they have to survive. They still have to have like a rotating door coming out of Arkham. It's just part of the necessity of having more books. But yeah, it is ridiculous that they keep putting them in Arkham Asylum. They obviously can't hold them.
And I have to admit, after 55 years of reading Batman, I am suffering from Joker fatigue.
Yeah.
That's a long time for me to be reading about the Joker, and in different incarnations. The goofy clown back in the 60s, and then he slowly becomes the murderous, sadistic cretin that he is now. I'm suffering from Joker fatigue, and I'm having a hard time getting excited about any Joker books. That's just my own personal thing, because I've been at it a long time. And you're just starting out, so you can't have Joker fatigue yet. You got another.
I get it, though. They can use the Joker way too much. I get it.
Yeah.
But this whole talk about Arkham Asylum and how terrible it is reminds me of an excellent episode of Batman the Animated Series in the 3rd season. It's an episode called Lockup, where there is a guard at Arkham who is too good at his job, and he terrifies all the villains and tortures them. And he is fired because he's too good at his job. And all the villains are complaining, and he ends up coming back to Gotham City years later as a vigilante named Lockup, and he wants to just take all of the villains and just put them in his own prison and say, Batman, you bring them to me and I'll lock them up and I'll make sure they never escape. It's a great episode. And it really just parodies how terrible Arkham Asylum is.
Yeah.
It also shows how Batman isn't a sadistic torturer. That's not his job.
Right.
So whenever you continue your watch of animated series, you'll get to that episode eventually.
Yeah.
So my second favorite story was I Know by Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev.
Yeah. That was a good story.
I know Bendis gets a lot of hate, but him and Alex Maleev know how to make good comics together.
They do.
Look at this double-page spread of Batman. Like, I just want to see Alex Maleev do a miniseries or a run on Batman. Because I love Daredevil by Bendis and Maleev. Jess and I are going to be reviewing that on Crime Corner in February. That'll be a lot of fun. Bendis knows how to write superhero crime. And I would love to see him and Maleev tackle a miniseries or a run down the road. And I promise I'm not going to spoil this story like I did with the one by Kevin Smith. This story takes place when Bruce is much older and he's bound to a wheelchair. And one day Oswald Cobblepot waddles up to him and says, hey, I've known for years that you're Batman, but I haven't told anyone, and here's why. I'm not going to ruin the punchline, but it was really funny and it was really satisfying. And it proves once again that no matter how old Bruce is going to be, he's always going to be Batman.
Yeah.
He'll never get rid of that.
And it shows that Bendis is still a good writer, I think.
Yeah, he definitely knows how to do crime, for sure. That's in his wheelhouse. I know a lot of people don't really want to see him tackle Batman, but I would like to see him do Batman in some capacity. I know he's currently doing one with Nick Darren. What's his name? Oh, what's that guy? He did the Doom Patrol recently. What was that news Doom Patrol book?
Oh, I'd have to go look.
What's that? Is it Nick Darrington, I think, is his name? The artist. Let me look it up. It's called Batman Universe by Bendis. And I think it's Nick Darrington.
Oh, you know what? I dislike Doom Patrol so much, I stopped collecting it.
Oh, yeah, it is Nick Darrington. So that hardcover comes out in March. So I'm sure we'll be reviewing that in the coming months. But I really am looking forward to reading a Bendis Batman book. I think he did a great job in this issue. Even though it is kind of weird that he did a story in this book because he never had done anything with Batman before. So that part was kind of strange for me. Because I think this book was mainly for artists and writers who were really famous because of Batman. But I get it. It's Bendis, and he just came to DC. I get why they wanted him to be in this issue. I think he did a good job, though.
Story.
Yeah, it was a really strong story. So I'm glad he was in the issue, even though I think there were some other creators who maybe deserved it more because of their history with Batman.
Yeah.
And my third favorite story was actually a story I didn't notice until this second reread, getting ready for this review, and it's The Precedent by James Tinian. And this is all about Batman and Robin's relationship, and asks the question, is it okay for Batman to have a teenage sidekick?
Oh,
Isn't this just a version of glorified child abuse, of having a little teenage boy fighting these psychopaths? And Bruce is really combating this idea in his mind, saying, am I scarring this child for life, or am I actually helping him? And Alfred says, listen, Dick needs you as much as you need him. You both need each other. He needs Batman in his life, and you need a Robin in your life. I talked about this 2 weeks ago in our last show. Robin is so essential to making Batman who he is. Yeah. I love Batman solo stories, but Robin has to exist. Mm-hmm. He keeps Batman from entering into the darkness and not being a human being anymore. Right. Imagine Bruce without that tether to reality of having these sons who really keep him centered. Mm-hmm. And Alfred says, listen, he needs you and you need him. And you're going to help him become even better than you are because you're going to raise him in the light, he says. And so that story didn't really hit me until a second reread. And I was just blown away by how good Tinian is. And I cannot wait for his new Batman run starting this upcoming month in January.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great run. It's James Tinian with art by Tony Daniel and Jorge Jimenez. That's just a great team.
That's a great
team. And think about that. Let's look at this lineup of creators we have next year. On the main title, we have Tinian and those creators we just talked about. We have Tomasi on Detective and Tom King and Clay Mann doing a 12-issue miniseries. That is a great year of Batman.
It is.
We're really spoiled right now with a lot of great Batman books, which I'm really excited about. So let's talk about our least favorite stories, or in Jess's case, his least favorite story, because he only had one that he didn't like.
I just had one, and I thought it was only because of the art, and God bless him. He was my hero for so long. I mean, I cannot tell you what he meant to a teenage Jess that he was that he changed. You know, he and Denny O'Neil changed Batman Forever back in the late 60s, early 70s. But I'm just not into Neil Adams' art anymore. And it breaks my heart because I really literally worshipped this guy in my teenage years. And I just don't, there's something about him penciling his own, inking his own pencils, I think is a mistake. He's too far up there now to let anybody else ink him, but I think he needs an inker that tightens him up more. These are very loose,
very scratchy.
They're very loose, and the facial expressions tend to look the same. His mouths are kind of odd now, and I don't mean for this to bust on Neil Adams. I'm just because I respect everything that he's done in the industry and how he changed the industry, but it's just not my favorite art anymore. And I didn't think this story, it's by Christopher Priest, who's fine, but then the story's called Heretic. But the story didn't do all that much for me, and the art sort of was just,
it ends on a weird note. It acts like there's more stories to come. And it's like no one wants to read the conclusion of this story that you're setting up. I just thought it was really boring. The whole story was boring. I think some creators are still able to maintain their artistic prowess as they get older. Like Martin Scorsese just directed one of his best films. He's 77 years old with The Irishman. And
I think when you get to motor skills,
that's true.
And an artist, an illustrator, it becomes more difficult the older you get.
You're right. Drawing is a perishable skill.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. But I think, yeah, in terms of drawing and penciling, I think there's an age where you just need to stop, or just not draw like actual stories in a comic that you're going to sell.
I think his pencils are probably fine, and I just think he needs he's missing Dick Giordano, who tightened up his inks so well back when he was young. And I know Neil Adams sometimes went over his own inks back then too, but I just feel like he could benefit from a younger inker just to tighten it up a little bit.
And Dave Stewart colored this, and he couldn't save it either. And he's the best colorist in comics.
Yeah.
And that was one of my least favorite stories as well, Jess. I think my least favorite one, though, let me see if I can find it. And it's by Jeff Johns and Kelly Jones.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a fan of Kelly Jones' artwork, really, so that's on me.
This is the strangest creator matchup in the entire issue. Jeff Johns' script doesn't belong in the same city as Kelly Jones' art. It doesn't match up at all. The only thing that's similar about these two creators is that their last names sound similar. That's pretty much it. Like they're just not a good team up, in my opinion. I think that Jeff Johns should have done an issue with Gary Frank, who he did Batman Earth 1 with, and I think they're both a great team together. And the story just didn't hit with me at all. Did you like the story of that issue?
It was okay. I think it was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. It didn't.
It's Jeff Johns, one of the best writers in comics, and this story is just okay.
Yeah, it's just okay.
This is my least favorite thing that Jeff Johns has ever written that I've read. It didn't connect with me on an artistic level or a story level at all.
Yeah.
I just don't like Kelly Jones' long-eared version of Batman. I just don't like it.
I don't either. And it's a personal thing. Kelly Jones, well-respected artist. I totally respect him. But ever since his run on Dead Man, I've just been like, I'm not into this. And it's just a personal preference thing. It's just subjective. Other people love him, and I think that's great. And he deserves it. They deserve to love him. He deserves the accolades. It's just not for me.
I think he's one of those artists that you either love him or you just don't.
He's just got a very unusual style, so it's going to be divisive.
Right. So overall, do you have any final thoughts on Detective Comics 1000?
I liked it a lot, and was a good pickup. I think the positives far outweigh the negatives, and I like it a lot. And I'm glad that we took it on to review because it was really good.
Right.
It reminded me how much I like Batman in different incarnations.
Right. It's definitely an awesome celebration of who Batman is and why we love him so much.
Yeah.
And the main reason why we reviewed this is because a few months ago we reviewed Detective Comics Mythology, which then leads into this issue, Detective Comics 1000, and then it goes into Detective Comics Arkham Knight, which contains Detective Comics 1001 through 1005, as well as Annual Number 2, and it also contains the story that Tomasi and Monkey did in Detective Comics 1000. So if you don't want to read Detective Comics 1000, you don't need to have it to read this book because they put their short story from 1000 in this hardcover.
Right.
I would encourage you to pick this up if you're going to read this series, but you don't have to read Arkham Knight.
But you definitely need to read Batman Mythology.
Yes, that is my best, not just Batman book of the year, my best book of 2019. That's right. You heard me right. It's the best book of 2019, and it kills me that no one else besides me and Jess seem to be talking about it. Have you seen anybody else on YouTube or on the Facebook group really talk about it?
No.
It seems like it's just us. It's almost like Tomasi sent this book to just you and me and says, hey, enjoy it. It's just weird that no one's talking about how fantastic this book is.
Yeah, I really, really like Mythology.
So let me read off the back of this book. And Jess, you can show off some art.
Okay.
I read the summary to kind of give you an idea of what this book is about. So the people of Gotham believe their city's hero protects them from the dangers on their streets, but is their violent, lawless vigilante really much better than the monsters he fights? This is the Arkham Knight's crusade to defeat the Batman and free Gotham from the tyranny of his darkness. The Knight has brought an entire round table of deadly allies from the asylum, but is hoping to recruit one more, Damian Wayne. Can this masked renegade sway Robin to join their cause? So I went into this book with tempered expectations because I didn't want to be disappointed because I knew that Mythology was so great. I'm like, there's no way Volume 2 can nearly match how amazing Volume 1 was. And I'm really glad I lowered my expectations because this book would have disappointed me otherwise. Because I thought it was good, but it wasn't great.
Right. I agree with that. I feel like as far as now, where did Arkham Knight come from? Was that a video game?
Yeah, so the Arkham Knight really came out of the video game, which came out in 2015.
Okay.
And the Arkham Knight of the video game is different than the Arkham Knight in this book.
Okay.
The people below the mask are different people.
Okay. So Tomasi didn't invent the Arkham Knight. I think he did his best to incorporate it. I will say it for those who didn't get it. Don't want to spoil it for you. I think he did his best to incorporate it into DC's canon. Short story, long. It's not anything I haven't read before. To me, it was a bit of a standard trope of somebody seeking revenge on the Batman, and I feel like I've already seen it in the little bit of Batman Adventures that I've seen. It sort of reminded me of Mask of the Phantasm as far as avenging angel type thing goes, except that this one was directed at Batman and not a new person, but it was a revenge thing against Batman, the Arkham Knight. How they went about it to get revenge on Batman, besides trying to turn Robin against him, and besides trying to actually beat Batman by force, the method they used on the citizens of Gotham, not trying to spoil it, but the method they used on the citizens of Gotham to cleanse them of Batman, I thought was very odd.
It didn't really make sense when you thought about it.
I was like, why is she doing that? Oops, sorry, I blew it already. Why is Arkham Knight doing that to the population of Gotham, and how does that help them? How does how would the defeat of Batman and what the Arkham Knight did to the citizenry of Gotham, how does it affect? How is that a positive thing? It just seemed like a very odd thing for Arkham Knight to do, and I felt like, as I said, this was a revenge thing that I had read before somewhere. So I I was slightly disappointed because I expected more from it, because I was excited about Arkham Knight coming off of Mythology. Of course I love Batman and Robin by Tomasi, and I just kind of felt like this was just fair to Midland, that he's capable of much better, that he could have, the motivation for Arkham Knight should have been a lot different, I think.
I thought the origin story for Arkham Knight was interesting.
I will say, I agree with you.
I'm not going to say what it was, but I found it very interesting. But their plan was very strange. It didn't really make sense for what they wanted to accomplish. I just didn't understand why they were doing what they were doing.
Right. And
they want to win the hearts and minds of Gotham City. Their plan definitely wouldn't accomplish that.
No.
That wouldn't make me love someone, what they were planning to do.
No, I'd carry out revenge against them for doing that.
But I thought Damian Wayne was the best part of this book.
Yeah.
Because once again, Tomasi can write Damian better than anyone else, even more than his creator, Grant Morrison. He had the best lines. He had the best moments. And I really like that Bruce is finally allowing Damian to be his own man. Mm-hmm. He even says, hey, you can drive the car. Hey, you can lead point on this. He's finally not breathing down his neck and giving him the leeway that he needs. Yeah. It really shows, to be a good parent, you have to help your child to be independent and to be on their own. You can't coddle them. You can't just breathe down their neck all day. You can't be a what's it called? A helicopter parent.
Helicopter parent.
Constantly hovering over them. You have to let them be their own person.
How long have you been a parent?
I've only been a parent for 2 months. But with my job, I work with teenagers.
Me on parenthood.
I work with teenagers on a daily basis for my job.
That's right.
So I'm used to dealing with parents and teenagers. So I see parenting, face to face in that way. I deal with young students, so I see what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
So I really like that Bruce is finally allowing Damian to be his own man and really let him take care of certain things. He knows how capable he is, and he's finally proven himself to be responsible, even though he still has that Damian Wayne streak in him, where he'll kind of go off the reservation and do things he probably shouldn't do.
Yeah, say I can take him on where you failed. I thought that was cool.
So what did you think of Brad Walker's pencils?
Let's see.
I thought he did a good job.
I liked the art a lot. I especially liked the love story between the doctor and his wife, and then the kid that was created. I thought this was all really well done. This is probably my favorite section of the book, was the middle of the book, where
let's not get too deep into it.
Sorry?
Let's not get too deep into that story because it might uncover spoilers. I don't think you spoiled it yet, but just don't want to get too deep into that.
Yeah, but that was my favorite part, where he had a wife and then the kid, how the kid grew up.
Right. That was a really well laid out couple pages.
Yeah, I really like that. I like the art a lot. And
I like how his Batman looks like the Batman from the animated series. It's obviously he loves that TV show. You see him right there? That looks exactly like the Batman from the animated series, especially down below.
Oh, yeah.
So I think he did a really good job, and I'm excited that Brad Walker is going to continue to do stories in this book, in this run. So I think it's going to alternate between Brad Walker and Doug Mahnke. Even though Doug Mahnke is still my favorite artist on this run, Brad Walker's definitely no slouch. He's not like a bad fill-in artist. He's definitely a very good artist in his own right.
Yeah.
So again, this book isn't bad by any means. I had fun with it, but it did disappoint me because I know what Tomasi is capable of. It's like whenever your kid's an A+ student and they come home with a B. It's like, I know you're more capable of than a B. Do you know what I mean? I know that you're able to do better than this.
You sound like my mother. Those are the exact words she said to me for Algebra 2.
All right, so Jess, you're like your mom in this situation. Tomasi came up to us with a B, and we said, listen, you're capable of much more than this. Even though it's still a good grade, it just isn't as good as it could have been.
Right.
And so I'm still really excited about this run, and I'm still excited to read the next volume, which comes out in April.
Now, what's it called? Do you know?
Let me look it up on Amazon.
Okay.
I think some of it focuses on the Joker, though.
No,
Let me look.
not that guy.
I don't think he's in the whole thing. Let me see. It is called Detective Comics Volume 3, Greetings from Gotham. Do you want me to read the synopsis?
Yeah.
All right. Following the events of Detective Comics Volume 2, Batman's limits will be pushed to the limit as he faces off against some of his deadliest foes, including Deadshot and the Joker. Detective Jim Corrigan has been shot on the streets of Gotham City, and the Spectre must reach out to Batman to help find a secret assassin. There's only one life Batman would be willing to risk saving. There's only one life Batman would be willing to risk saving Jimmy Corrigan and the Spectres, his own. Plus, Deadshot has returned to Gotham City following a long stint with the Suicide Squad, and Batman fears that without the oversight of Amanda Waller, Floyd Lawton will go back to his old ways.
I like the sound of that.
It sounds like a bunch of one-off stories. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. I like Deadshot. I love Jim Corrigan and the Spectre. I like that. Sounds good.
Yeah. So again, this isn't bad. It's still good. We just know that Tomasi is capable of great. So I think it's still worth picking up if you want to read this run.
Yeah.
Don't just skip this volume. It's still worth reading.
Oh yeah. You definitely need it in your collection still.
Yes. And I really like that they're actually having the same spines. They're not just changing the spines up on us. Do you have mythology to line it up with? I know we're all sad about the change in the spine design, but at least they're keeping these uniform and making them look good together on the shelf. Because DC is known to just change it from volume to volume. And who knows what they'll do with the next
volume 3 will be pink spine.
I was telling Jess yesterday, I was texting him because as I was walking my dog, I was listening to a Tom King interview, and he was like bemoaning the fact that they changed the spines in the middle of his run. And he's not very happy that they changed the paper quality with the deluxe hardcover.
So he's right in line with us.
Well, we don't mind the matte paper, but he does. He wants to have the glossy paper in his deluxe.
I have to admit, I'm a little bit more of a fan of glossy. I mean, I just don't want to complain because everybody complains about everything. But if I had my choice, I'd rather glossy.
Right. But I think the thing that upsets us more is the spine disorder.
Yeah, at least they're keeping them deluxe. That's what we can be grateful for. I'm
really glad that they solicited volume 5 of those deluxes for Tom King. I would have been so mad if they didn't finish that out.
Yeah.
Because there's only 2 volumes left in deluxe format to finish out his run. And hopefully they come out with the deluxe of Batman and Catwoman, which finishes out all of his Batman work.
Yes.
Which that probably won't come out till 2021, but we can wait.
Right. Well, you can. I don't know if I have any time left.
Oh, come on, Jess. You act like you're 95 years old. So that's all we have for you guys today.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. If you could give us a like or subscribe, please leave a comment. Taylor and I both respond to comments all the time. We really appreciate your comments. If you agree with us or disagree with us, feel free to lay out your case. For either one of those, we're happy to engage in dialogue.
Yeah, let us know what your favorite and least favorite stories for Detective Comics 1000 were in the comments. I'd be interested to know that. And also, we have a lot of ideas and books to review in 2020. But if you have any things that you want to see from our show in the upcoming year, let us know in the comments. Maybe a topic you'd like us to tackle or a book you'd like us to review. In 2 weeks, we're going to review No Justice and the deluxe volume 1 of Scott Snyder's Justice League. So that's what we're reviewing in 2 weeks. But if you have any other ideas for future videos, please let us know. We can't promise that we're going to do all the ideas, but it's always good to get more ideas from our fans.
Yeah, well, we do 2 shows a month, so we should be able to get in a lot of different topics.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Taylor, and thank you to all the fans and viewers out there who tuned in to Baturdays in the Batcave on OmniDog's Vault. You can find me, OmniDog, right here on YouTube on OmniDog's Vault every other Saturday with Taylor.
We'll be here in 2020.
That's right. We look forward to a good 2020. It was a good 2019. We look forward to a good 2020. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Happy New Year.